Well, that's a bummer. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Speedy's Garage. This will probably or hopefully be a pretty quick video. I've got about 2,000 miles on Go Man Go's new red-eye engine. Everything was going great. Got it dialed in, got it tuned, everything's good. And I started throwing a check engine light. I couldn't figure out what was going on. We're gonna take a look at the dash today, see, you can actually pull the codes from the dash. I've actually hooked up the HP Tuner VCM scanner software, so I already know what it is, but I'm gonna show you guys how you can do that on the dash if you don't have some type of scanning software. And then we're gonna take a look at how to solve the problem, hopefully. And the only other thing I've had occur since swapping the engine out is I started noticing that the coolant temperature wasn't dropping down to 185 degrees like it used to, even though we basically just pulled the thermostat, 180 degree thermostat out of the original blown motor, and we put it in this red-eye engine. But the lowest I ever saw was 192 degrees, and cruising along in traffic, I would see it sometimes go up to 197. I'd hear the fans running more than I thought that they should. And I burped the system several times. It wasn't that. Eventually I pulled the thermostat out to take a look at it, and I don't have any more. I pitched it already. You guys have seen me. I'll link to the top how to swap a thermostat out in one of these. I didn't feel like going through it again and boring you guys with that. But basically it looked like the wax had gotten too hot in that thermostat, and maybe it wasn't opening all the way. So I just ordered a new 180 degree thermostat. I think I went with the Mishimoto was the brand that I went with. Stuck that in the car. Problem solved. I'm now cruising at a nice cool 185 degrees, even when it's like 99 degrees out. So that's all working properly. The fans are working like they're supposed to. They're not running on high all the time. If you ever start to have a cooling problem, the first indicator is your fans will be running on high constantly, and that's not normal. So if you hear that, that's the first indication you got a problem. You start taking a look at your thermostat. That's all fixed. Now we're going to try to figure out what's going on with this new code that we just got. I've got just about 2,000 miles on the new Demon / red-eye motor that we put in Go Man Go, and everything was going great. All of a sudden I tripped a check engine light about a week ago. It was a P219B, and I just cleared it. I had never seen it before, thought it might be a fluke. Cleared it, drove the car around for another few days, and it came back. The nice thing about the modern cars is you can actually log into the dash, and you can scroll to vehicle info, and I'm going to show you this. And you can actually kind of scroll across and start looking for diagnostic information. So you just arrow down, and eventually you get to the diagnostic codes section. You click OK to view the diagnostic codes, and there you can see it, P219B, but it doesn't really give you much more information than that. Okay, so back to that P219B code. You can see we got Go Man Go up on our race ramps here. I'll put a link in the description. I get a lot of questions about which race ramps I have, and the extensions that I use to get him up on the ramps without dragging. I use you can probably see those down there, the lower profile extensions. I'll link to all that in the description if you're interested in some of those. But long story short, we got him up on the ramps ready to go, and the reason for that is that P219B code is for an air-fuel ratio imbalance. And I had to look that up and Google it, and it reads like the oxygen sensors are one of the culprits of that. When the engine blew on the original Hellcat motor, a lot of oil got in the intake and got in the catalytic converters and probably coated the oxygen sensors, or definitely coated the oxygen sensors. And so I'm thinking probably some oil residue got in there and has fouled out my oxygen sensor over time. You know, as they heat up and all that hot exhaust goes across them, it's probably coked the oil around the sensor. 219B, the B designates the cylinder bank that doesn't contain cylinder 1. Well, the driver's side is 1, 3, 5, and 7. The passenger side is 2, 4, 6, and 8. So we know that the problem, according to the computer, is on the passenger side. Usually your air-fuel ratio sensors are the front sensor ahead of the catalytic converter, and then the ones either in the catalytic converter or behind it will be used to check the efficiency of the catalytic converter. So we're going to crawl into the car, take a look and see how those oxygen sensors are set up on this car, and I'm planning to take the passenger side front oxygen sensor out and swap it into the driver's side, and take the driver's side and swap it into the passenger side. You could just go buy sensors and start swapping parts, but they're about $100 each, not super expensive. But I never like to just start swapping parts and guessing at what's wrong with the car. I'd rather do a little bit of very basic troubleshooting and try to determine exactly what the issue is. And if it's one of our oxygen sensors, what we'll find is that code will follow the sensor. So if we move the passenger side to the driver's side, Now we should see a P219A code get thrown, and then I'll be like, yep, I got a bad oxygen sensor. I'll hop on eastcoastmoparts.com and order one up. And while you could do this job with something like this, I found years ago having the right tool for the job is important. So I actually picked up this oxygen sensor tool, and as you can see, it's got a slit in it to allow it to go over the wiring and everything, and it's a socket. These oxygen sensors can sometimes be kind of a pain in the butt to get out if they're seized in there or whatever, and so we'll go over the top of it, and it's got a nice hex fitting there to go on top, and it connects to a 3/8 inch ratchet. We can just ratchet it out. So that's what I'm going to use to get it done, but in a pinch, one of these will work. Hopefully this is easy. Famous last words. So there's our culprit. You can see it up there in the front, coming right off the header. And then there's another one, you can see it there, actually connected into the catalytic converter. That would be our rear oxygen sensor. That one's the front. And there's the driver's side front. And you can see the one in the catalytic converter there. So what we're going to do is just swap the front ones from driver's side to passenger side and vice versa. There is a plastic plug up there. Hopefully you can see that. That's how it connects into the wiring harness. Just going to unplug that and then unthread the sensor, swap them around. Hopefully it won't be too hard. There it is. Okay, we got the driver's side connected up. I did have to take the wiring out of the clip, and I had to remove the female end from the bracket that it was connected to so that the wire would reach, but it is not touching the steering, and this is only temporary, so that'll be fine to get us by, but that's how we're going to get it done, and we just hooked up the passenger side just normal. Alright, so hopefully you can see the wire colors up here. I decided to take a peek at those. You can see there's white, gray, yellow, blue on the front one, but on the back one there's only white, gray, black. 2 whites, a gray, and a black. So that shows you there's a difference, and I believe the fronts are wideband like I mentioned, and the rears are just checking the exhaust fumes coming into the catalytic converter. They're comparing them against the known value on the front, and you know you're within range, and that's how it knows you've got catalytic converters and they're working properly. This is also why you sometimes get, or usually get, a check engine light if you go to high flow or catless mids, because that sensor is looking for a difference between these two sensors, and that's how it'll know if they're working properly. Okay, so we got all that done, not too bad. The next thing we need to do is we're going to hook up our MPVI2 to the OBD2 port. Then we're going to connect it up to our laptop. We're going to key the ignition on, but I'm not going to start it. So we're going to go all the way around to run. And then on the software, we're going to connect to the vehicle. I think I've showed you guys this before, but this is how we're going to clear out the OBD2 codes so we can test to see if this solves our problem, or at least shows us what our problem is. Read DTCs, we should see it up there. Yes, we do. I've got a pending coolant thermostat code too. That's kind of weird, but I'll deal with that. If that comes back, I'll just turn that P0128 off. I've got a 180 degree thermostat in here and it's been working good. So anyway, we're going to hit read DTCs. We already did that. We're going to hit clear DTCs. And there you go. We have cleared out the DTCs. Now we can go drive the car around and test it and see if our code comes back. This time, hopefully, if it does, it is on the driver's side P219A. That's what we're probably going to be looking for. And I'm guessing P219A. I think that's what it'll be. But anyway, if we get a code, hopefully it followed the sensor. We'll know what our problem is. If I need to order a new sensor, that's what I'll do. And if you're wondering if I check the simple stuff first, like a loose injector wire or a vacuum leak, yes, I did. So after I changed the front O2 sensors, I swapped passenger side to driver side and driver side to passenger side. I was expecting the code to follow the sensor, and I would end up getting a code on the driver side instead of the passenger side. However, that didn't happen. The code popped again within 50 or 60 miles, I would say, and again, it was on the passenger side. So that told me that the front sensors weren't the problem. So I crawled back under Go Man Go here. I swapped the front sensors back to where they were supposed to be. You know, I showed you that the driver's side was a little bit longer, And so they're technically interchangeable. If I ever ordered sensors in the future, I would just order 2 driver's side sensors so they were both long, and then they'll work on either side. But I didn't have to do that. I swapped the driver's side back to the driver's side where it was supposed to be and the passenger side back where it was supposed to be. And then I switched the rear O2 sensors. I didn't show you that because it's just me unthreading them and then threading them back in and plugging them up. And they are exactly the same. They were the same length, the same clips, the same everything. Plugged them back in. I have now driven the car for about 2 weeks and the code has never come back. And if you do determine that you need oxygen sensors, I will leave the part numbers in the description below, as well as a link to the tool that I like to use on oxygen sensor removal. Makes it super easy to both remove and reinstall, and you don't run the risk of stripping the threads as easily. However, double check the part numbers before you just go buy them for your particular application. Those oxygen sensors are pretty standard and used in a wide range, specifically Dodge vehicles, but you want to double check yours just to be sure. So, saved myself a couple of $100 trying to play around with sensors. The reason I did this video was to show you guys doing just some simple troubleshooting can actually save you some money. Somebody might say, well, I would have rather just spent a couple of $100 on sensors and swapped them out. And hey, that's your prerogative. You might not have solved the problem, you might have, you never know for sure. I always like to move the sensors around and know the problem I'm fixing, so I'm not guessing and just swapping parts. So that's it. The car is now fixed. Literally all I did was swap the rear sensor from passenger side to driver side and driver side to passenger side. It's been good to go for 200 or 300 miles now, and usually that code would have popped within like 50 or 60 miles like I said before. Hopefully you found the video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to check us out on Instagram. It's @Speedys_garage, as well as our website, www.speedysgarage.net. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you get notified of future content, and hopefully I'll see you out there.